Hey guys, today we're going to talk about factoring GCF. And what that is the greatest common factor. So as you know, a lot of numbers are made up of other numbers being multiplied to it. And we're going to have to figure out what's the biggest number and variable we can pull out of the problem. So we have to break things down to the prime factorization. It's almost just like doing a factor tree. So in this problem, we have two terms, and a term is separated by an addition or subtraction sign. Okay, multiplication does not count, nor division, just add and subtract. So we have to break these two down. So I like to kind of expand them out in rows. So I'm going to write each of the terms down here. So we have to figure out what multiplies to 10, and 10 is 5 and 1. Okay, but we don't need, 5 and 2. So we would say 5 times 2, okay? And this x to the third power is just shorthand for writing 3 x's. So again, we're expanding every term out. Here, 5 is a prime number, so it would be 5 and 1. We do not need the 5, so I'm just going to write, or the 1, so we're just going to write 5. And then we have x squared, so x times itself twice. Now, because we have two terms, we can set up our answer. This is going to be the GCF, and in parentheses, you're going to write what's left over in our first term plus what's left over in our second term. Okay, so let's see how it's 10x to the third plus 5x squared, and you would rewrite that problem right here in your parentheses. So we have to see what we can take out, and it has, whatever number or variable you take out has to occur in both of the terms. If you have more than two terms, it has to occur in all three. So here we have a 5 in both. We have one pair of x's and another pair of x's. Okay, so your GCF is going to be 5 times x, right? You only take out one of that value. Okay, now what's left over in your top row goes here because that's what's left over of your 10x squared. So we would say we have a 2 and an x left over, so we would say 2x. If everything happens to be gone, then you have to put a placeholder, and that placeholder would be 1. So what we took out, if we simplify this 2x's, we would say 5x squared is our GCF, and then 2x plus 1 would be our answer and what is left over. So let's try another one. Here we have 12x plus 20. So we need to break down each of our terms, and then let's set up our answer. The first blank is going to be our GCF. We have two terms, right? 1, 2, separated by an addition sign. So let's break down 12. 12 is 3 and 4. 4 is 2 and 2. We can cross off the 4 and the 12. We're not going to use that. Okay, so we have 3 times 2 times 2 times x. We only have one x. And then if we break down 20, we would have 10 and 2, 5 and 2. So we have 5 times 2 times 2 and no variables. So what we can take out is one pair of 2's and two pair of 2's. So our GCF is 2 times 2, right? That's what's highlighted. And then you have to go through and say, what do I have left over? In the first term, I have a 3 and an x. So I would write 3x. And in my second term, I have a 5 left over. So I'm just going to write 5. So make sure you're always simplifying. So we have 2 times 2, which our GCF is 4, and you're left with 3x plus 5. Okay, let's try another one. Here we have two terms, 45b and 27. So the first blank, remember, is our GCF. We again have two terms separated by an addition sign. So we just have to simplify what is 45 broken down. So 45 is 9 and 5. And 9 is 3 and 3. So once you can't break down those numbers anymore, you just bring them over. So 3 times 3 times 5 times b. And 27 is 9 times 3. So 9 breaks down to 3 and 3. So now we have 3 of those 3's and no variables. So we have to take out pairs that we have in both of the terms. So anything that I just highlighted is our GCF, and we have to multiply it back together later. Our first term, what's not highlighted, is a 5 and a b, and our second term is a 3. So after we simplify, our GCF was 9, and you're left over with 5b plus 3. So let's take a look at a few more. This one has 3 terms. Okay, so our first term is 4x to the third. Our second term is 12x. Our third term is 28. Ignore the negative because we're just going to put that down right in our answer. So there's our GCF. We now have 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. The first one is a plus sign. The second one is a minus sign. Okay, you just always bring down what you have. So we have to do our factor tree. So 4 is 2 and 2. So it's 2 times 2. And then we have x to the third, so 3 x's. The next number is 12. That's 4 and 3, 2 and 2. So we'd have 2 times 3 times x. And 28 is 4 times 7. And 4 is 2 and 2. So we have 2 times 7, and no variable. So now because we have 3 terms, we have to have the number not in both, but all 3. It has to appear in all 3. So here we have a 2 in all 3 and another 2 in all 3. We cannot do an x because this last term does not have an x. So in this problem, we have 2 and 2 as our GCF. In our first term, the only thing we have left are the 3 x's. In the second term, the only thing we have left is a 3x, and the last term is 7. So our final answer would be 4 times x to the third plus 3x minus 7. Let's take a look at this next one. 9x minus 6. So we have 2 terms, 9x and 6. We can set up our answer, GCF, 2 terms with minus. 9 is 3 and 3, and 1x. 6 is 2 and 3, and no x's. So our GCF would be 3. And we have 3x and 2, and that is our final answer. So I want you to take a second and try number 5 and number 6. So this is what your setup should look like, so make sure that's what you see on your paper. I'm going to break down each of the terms next, and then I'll restart the screen. So here are each of our terms simplified and expanded out. We can look to see if we have any like terms. So here we have a 7 that occurs in all 3, so that's going to be our GCF. Again, we do not have an n here, so we cannot put that in there. So everything that's left in our first term is 2, and then our 3 n's again, so we have n to the third. And then in our second term, we have 5 and then n squared. And then lastly, we have these 2 2's, and we multiply those back together to get 4, and that would be our final answer. In number 6, we have a 2 that occurs in each of the terms and an x. So in this one, we're going to take out 2x. What's left over is we have 7x squared, 7 and 2 x's. In the second term, we only have 1x left over, and in the last one, we have 2 2's, which is a 4. So this is how to factor out a GCF. You do have in-class practice, and then your quiz is on the computer. So please make sure you have your in-class practice checked before you move on.